So, hello and welcome to this draft analysis for the PGL. My name is Jamie Boyt and I have been commissioned to analyse this draft for the PGL here. I am a 3-time regional champion, I am a 5 times world competitor with 2 top cuts of the World Championships, 2 top 16 placements. One of them I had a perfect Swiss run in the most recent World Championships as well, and I came 9th, which is my best placement. So I'm somewhat experienced when it comes to VGC. I'm reasonably experienced when it comes to VGC drafts. I have taken part in a couple of draft leagues myself. I managed to win the XDL. I came top 4 in Season 4 of the High Roller Draft League. I'm currently competing in Season 4 of the High Roller Draft League as well. And draft is one of my favourite things to do. Maybe even better for me than just regular VGC. As much as I enjoy regular VGC, draft is just the best. And here I am analysing some more draft content. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting format. Restricted Pokemon are allowed, which is going to be a first for me, looking at this, because restricted Pokemon in pretty much every single draft format that I've been in has not been allowed, so it's going to be interesting to see how these restricted Pokemon do develop, but you can't Dynamax them, which I think is a very smart way of nerfing the restricted Pokemon. They could have really easily became out of hand if you would have allowed restricted Pokemon to go for the Dynamax, but not allowing them to Dynamax I think was a very, very good way of balancing. But another really cool thing that we have for this draft is that transfer moves are allowed. That opens up a lot of things. Tailwind is back on the table. Toxic is back on the table. There are a load of other really important transfer moves that are going to be for other Pokemon. Like Follow Me is available on some Pokemon that just you're normally never get it. Not even VGC, they're never allowed in VGC, so it's going to be really interesting to see how those Pokemon, the ones that are using moves that wouldn't be available in regular VGC, are going to be used in this format. I'm very interested to see how these teams did develop, so I'm going to be going through these teams. I'm going to be giving them a score out of 10 to see, give my opinion on how these coaches have done with drafting their teams. Obviously, a good place to start would be number 1, so that is going to be between the Alberta Tyrantrums. So the very first pick of the draft is going to be Solgaleo. So Solgaleo in VGC, you would almost always want to Dynamax and stack the Steel Spike boost and the Max Quake boost to make yourself even more bulky. So it's very interesting to see it as first pick in a non-Dynamax restricted format. If that's the correct sentence. Because usually you just want to boost out your fences, but the Solgaleo can't do that. If you would have got the Metagross, that could have done it, which is very similar. Solgaleo definitely has some things over Metagross. The big thing is Trick Room. Metagross can't go for Trick Room and Solgaleo can, so that gives it much more flexibility. It's got significantly more bulk than Metagross has. It's got roughly the same attack and a bit more speed, so it's definitely better in that regard. But the fact that you can't Dynamax, and the fact that Solgaleo Dynamaxing, it was the main niche that it goes for in actual VGC. It's quite interesting to see how that will come along in the draft formats. But pairing up with Moltres Galar makes absolute sense, because Solgaleo / Metagross paired up with Dark Flying type, usually Yveltal or Galarian Moltres, is a very, very strong pairing indeed. You've got the Comfey to be able to activate the weakness policy, which is going to be very good for the Moltres, because that one can Dynamax, so that would easily be able to make use of it. Suicune's going to allow you some extra bulk as well with the Snarls, as well as going for the Speed Control and Tailwind. Already in the first 4 picks, you've got your Trick Room, well, 2 Trick Rooms. You've got Comfey and the Solgaleo, but you've got Trick Room and Tailwind available already. You've got 3 Trick Rooms if you get that Kofagrigus in. Kofagrigus is going to be very good in draft format as well, because it is reasonably flexible, and it is one of the better Iron Defense Body Press Pokemon. So you always have to be prepared for that set. So it's got one of the highest defenses in the game. It's going to be able to set Trick Room. It's going to be able to do some other cool things in that Trick Room as well. So I'm interested to see how Kofagrigus goes in this format. You've got Hitmontop, potentially to get the Intimidates down, and Sucker Puncher and Solgaleo, if that's going to have the weakness policy. It's always nice to have Fake Out on the team. Fake Out is one of the moves that I do really try to put on the team, even if I have to pick every single one of my Pokemon and then end up with my final D tier pick just being on the team because it has Fake Out. I tend to go for that because Fake Out is a very good move in draft format to have available, so having Hitmontop there makes absolute sense. Trick Room Sweeper makes absolute sense as well, so the Mudsdale is going to be pretty reasonable in that regard. The only thing that I don't particularly like with the Mudsdale is the fact that they are missing Beat Up. Beat Up in draft with Mudsdale is very good, because you can always just beat up your Mudsdale, get the 4 stamina boosts, and you may be sorted for the rest of the game. So that would have been something I would have liked to see come out for the Alberta Tantrums, beat up some somewhere on the team. From what I can see, there isn't going to be that option. Multi-hit moves as well would have been pretty reasonable if you had something like Icicle Spear or Bullet Seed to be able to deal with that. Well, I guess with transfer moves, Lilligant can technically do that. Lilligant without any sun isn't the worst pick in the world. Grass is a reasonably hard hard type to try and find your picks for. What I would like to see from the Lilligant, it would be an offensive Quiver Dance set. I think that would probably be the best way for it to go in draft format, especially without sun. If it had sun, it could do all the shenanigans it does with After You and Sleep Powder and all that. But without it, I would probably dedicate that Lilligant to be a Quiver Dance sweeper if available. Ninjask I thought at the very beginning of this Sword and Shield era, when we had Series 1, I thought Ninjask was going to be busted because it's got one of the fastest airstreams. It can still do that in draft for sure, but that was my only thought process, and it stopped there. I didn't think about the typing, didn't think about the actual power coming out of an Aerial Ace airstream, but, you know, it's pretty fast. And Rotom Heat is just pretty nice to be able to round it out. That's a pretty solid core of the top picks of the Solgaleo, the Moltres, Suicune Comfey and Rotom Heat, rounding out pretty nicely with the bottom picks. So I would probably give this, I'm going to go for... I'm going to be conservative initially because I haven't thought about the other rankings for the others, and I don't want to give a higher ranking and then have to adjust later on. So I'm going to say I would probably give this a 7. But maybe I would go back and change that. But the fact that I have to rank everything, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think one of the things it's missing redirection, which is very useful in draft. It's just any redirection one. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be Togepi as a redirection one, just any not fully evolved Pokemon, just give it Focus Sash, give it redirection. That is something that is missing there. I would have probably liked to see Beat Up somewhere on the team. Doesn't matter where, again, just beat up your own Mudsdale and you may be sorted. You may just instantly win a game if they're not ready for it. So a couple of things that are missing there, but there's some very good things. So you've got the Tailwind to the Trick Room combination. That's always good to have both options available. So yeah, I'm going to start with a 7 out of 10 for the Alberta Tyrantrums. Maybe I would come back to it and change it depending on the other rankings that I give the team. I'm going to give it a 7 for that one. So, moving on to the Arkansas Arcanines. I know it's pronounced Arkansas, but, you know, I'm British and we invented English, so come at me. It's Arkansas. So, Groudon as the first pick. Not being able to Dynamax, that makes sense. Groudon is very good in Dynamax formats. When it is able to Dynamax, getting the Max Quake to boost its special defense when it has such good defenses as well, makes a lot of sense. But really, Groudon wants to just spam Precipice Blades, so that's absolutely fine when it can't go for the Dynamax. The only thing that is a little bit awkward when picking Groudon, I'm sure that Venusaur went later on. I'm trying to go into this as blind as possible so that I can just give my initial impressions. So Venusaur would have been a nice pairing. Just any Chlorophyll mon would have been nice to see, but I can't really see any Chlorophylls there. I can see a Fire type at least that can make use of the Sun boost because Groudon, obviously not having its primal form, is going to want to boost up a Fire type Pokemon somewhere. Heatran is going to be a very good Pokemon for that. Combination of Rillaboom and Heatran is very good because you've got the grassy terrain to be able to nerf the Earthquakes that can hit the Heatran very well. It doesn't save it from the Max Quakes that can come out and all the high horsepowers that are running about, but the fact that this is transfer moves available, that means that Heatran has access to Eruption. So that is going to pair really nicely with the Groudon, because you can just go for a Choice Scarf Eruption in the sun with a Heatran. It's not like a Typhlosion where it's not the strongest. Heatran actually has some pretty good firepower, so if you go for Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, Eruptions are going to hurt in the sun. So I like that pairing of the Groudon with Heatran. Maybe not as much if transfer moves weren't available, but because they are, and Eruption is available, that's a very strong pairing. So I do like the Groudon Heatran there. Garchomp is kind of the same thing as Groudon. It's doing similar things. So the Dragon typing is nice, but it's doing pretty much the same thing as Groudon, so I'd probably like to see something slightly different there, and maybe a different dragon, because the ground type, if it does completely different things to the other Pokemon, if you've got the crossover types, but they're doing different things, then that would be fine, but they're both strong physical attackers that probably just want to spam ground moves, and you've got Groudon, so you're probably sorted for that. So Garchomp, I'd probably like to see a different dragon coming out for that team. Reuniqueless is a solid Trick Room Pokemon for sure. Again, getting Trick Room somewhere on the team is always very good. Getting Tailwind somewhere on the team is very good, and they've got that on the next pick with the Mandibuzz, so they've got the Tailwind Trick Room combination. Groudon being a middling speed tier is going to be able to make use of the Trick Room and Tailwind very well as well. So I like the fact that they got the Trick Room and the Tailwind sorted within 2 picks of each other. So that's going to be really nice for them. Magneton is absolutely worthwhile as a lowest peer tick. Like, I can see there 40. I assume that 40 is going to be the lowest pick. I don't think there's any 20s. So Magneton makes perfect sense. It's got some pretty decent firepower. Electric Steel is a very good typing. Just don't get hit by ground types. So it resists, what is it, 12 out of 18? I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's 12 out of 18 types it resists. So Magnezone is obviously very good as well. But Magneton as a budget Pokemon for 40, like lowest tier, lowest amount of points, is absolutely worthwhile. Vaporeon, I'm not so sold on it in draft formats, because there are a lot of water types. Like, water, I think, is the most abundant type, and I would have probably picked a lot of other water Pokemon before Vaporeon. It can go for Helping Hand and Scald and all that stuff, but so can a lot of Pokemon. So it's got some decent HP, some decent bulk, but I'm not seeing too much that Vaporeon is doing that other water types couldn't have done as well, and maybe other things better. So I like the Sylveon pick. The Sylveon is very, very good. Getting 2 evolutions there is quite amusing, and Sylveon is one of the best fairy types in the game. Fairy type is a hard type to pick. So Sylveon is very good there. The Vaporeon, water is abundant, so I'd probably like to see a bit better, in my opinion, better water type over that instead. Hitmonlee, you've got your Fake Out sorted, so that makes sense as a final pick. You've also got Rillaboom on the team, so you get Grassy Surge combination with the Unburden, so you can always go for a Grassy Seed with the Hitmonlee. So I do like that as a final pick. That covers the Fake Out and also gives you a mode as well, an extra mode on top of what you already got. So I think if the Vaporeon was something else, then this team would be very, very strong. At the moment, I think it's strong. So, but then again, water types are a bit awkward if you've got Groudon. So maybe get a water type that doesn't have to rely on its water type attacks. If it has a secondary typing and it can rely on that secondary typing instead of the water type, that would probably be a bit better. But Vaporeon in the sun, that's going to be a bit awkward. So for this one, I'm going to give it an 8. For this. And again, these are the initial impressions. Maybe they would have changed if I was focusing later on, but I'm going to give this one an 8 for the Arkansas Arcanine. So, Virginia Snovers, picking Yveltal first. Yveltal is going to be very good in a non-restricted Dynamax format. I should mention as well, I don't think I mentioned yet, the Zacian is almost certainly banned. Like, Zacian would have gone first. I assume Zacian would be banned in this. So, the fact that there is no Zacian frees up Yveltal quite a lot. Like, it's always been very good when there's limited fairies. It's always had the opposition of Xerneas in previous restricted formats and Zacian in this format. But when they're only on one team or just non-existent, then Yveltal is busted. So it should be very, very strong in this format because it can do a lot of things. It's got Tailwind sorted straight away, and then you sort Trick Room straight away with the Chandelure as the second pick. So very, very solid first 2 picks coming out there. I like the Chandelure with the Yveltal quite a lot because Yveltal's covering stuff like the Darks and the Grounds that is going to be hitting the Chandelure pretty hard. And Chandelure hits very hard itself. 145 base special attack is very solid, and you get a Trick Room sweeper with the Snorlax as well. So yeah, very, very good starts for the Virginia Snovers, I think. And Minchao sorts you out for Fake Out. Inner Focus means that you're going to win the Fake Out war regardless of your speed, because if they're faster, doesn't matter. We can just always trade Fake Outs. You can't Fake Out the Minchao, and Minchao's got pretty good speed anyway, so it's probably going to have the fast Fake Out regardless. So yeah, Minchao, very good there. Rotom Wash pairs pretty nicely with the Pokemon that's already picked. It's only got 1 weakness, and it's got pretty good resistances as well. It can go onto a lot of teams, but it's a Pokemon that you probably want to synergize well with the rest of the team rather than just be a good Pokemon, because it's a decent Pokemon, but it's great when the partners around it work together with it. It's not a standalone Pokemon, so pairing pretty well with what's been picked already so far. And then you rounded out the Firewater Grass with the Abomasnow as well. You get Weather as well. Weather is hard to come by. Abomasnow itself, for just a 40, like getting Weather is worth it. In my opinion, as the lowest pick. So, yeah, rounding out the Firewater Grass with the Abomasnow, I think is pretty decent there. I got a secondary Trick Room Pokemon with the Aromatisse. Like I said, Fairy is quite hard to come by, so Aromatisse is absolutely worthwhile as a Pokemon. Kingler, in the very lowest tier, is definitely worth. Like, Hyper Cutter means it can't be intimidated. Foam Burst is very, very good for a G-Max move. Like, Foam Burst, I think, is one of the best G-Max moves. It's just a shame it's from Kingler. So you probably always need to be Assault Vesting it to make up for the terrible special defense of the Kingler, but the fact that it can't be intimidated, or even have its attack lowered, is going to be very good for it and absolutely worthwhile for the bottom tier pick. Get some extra speed control on top of the Tailwind in the Trick Room, you got, like, no one will think about the Foam Burst, really. The Foam Burst will be clutch, I'm assuming, in at least one match. It will be very strong. Nidoking is very good in draft because it's got amazing coverage, and you can always make use of it with the Sheer Force. You can go physical or special with Nidoking, so it's going to be very, very flexible, and flexibility is one of the main things in drafts, I think. So Kartana is not the most flexible, really. It's going to do its job very well. That's what I look for mainly in my Pokemon, is going to be either super flexible or very, very good at the one job it does. And Kartana absolutely does that. So given the fact that they had 180 points left over, absolutely pick up Kartana for sure. That might make the Abomasnow a little bit more obsolete, but then you may think of it as an Ice type rather than the Grass type. But then you've got stuff like Ice Shard into your own Yveltal, which you can do as well. So yeah, this seems pretty decent. I'm going to give this one an 8 as well. Maybe, again, like, I will say this probably the entire draft, but maybe I would change it later on if I have some more references to go up against. But yeah, I'm going to give this one an 8 as well. So, Colorado Gigaliths. Let's have a look. Galar Dex Ice has to go at some point. It's not going to be absolutely mega busted if it could have Dynamaxed. Like, it's not allowed to, so it's still going to be very, very good. Like, 220, I assume, is going to make it one of the best restrictors that could have gone. So, yeah, Galar Dex Ice absolutely is going to be still very good even without the Dynamax. You're going to be able to screens it up with the Grimmsnarl. You're going to be able to do all the shenanigans as well that Grimmsnarl can do. Very, very solid per first 2 picks. You've got Fake Out sorted. You've got Fake Out Trick Room already sorted with a Trick Room sweeper already that you can Sucker Punch and get your weakness policy going, and then sweep into Trick Room with just Glacial Lance. So yeah, very, very solid start. Galarian Zapdos is a good Pokemon in draft format as well. You want to put off the Intimidators and just make them use their other abilities, and that will free up things like the Galar Dex Ice, so that it won't be intimidated, or will be scared to be intimidated as well. So absolutely a solid pick for the Zapdos. Naganadel, Dragon Poison is an annoying type in draft. It's a type that you often seem to forget and then have nothing for. So Naganadel is going to be very good. And it's already got a nice speed sandwich, as I think is not the term at all. But very fast Pokemon, 121, as opposed to the 50 of Calyrex. That's already a great range of speed. That is something else that you want to be looking for in draft. You don't want all middling speeds. You don't want all super fast. You don't want dedicated Trick Room. Like, you don't want dedicated Trick Room, trust me. So you want the ranges of different speeds, and a range of 71 already is great. And it looks like we're going to get even slower. So, yeah, Milotic is going to be one of the middling speed tiers, but again, this team does not want to be intimidated, it seems. For Galarian Zapdos and Milotic, yeah, you aren't going to really be able to get away with intimidating that Galar Dex Ice, and that is nice. Like, that's what you want. You want your Calyrex to be the star of the show, and Zapdos and Milotic are going to help put off the Pokemon that would stop that. So, yeah, I like that a lot. And you've also got the options for the Coil Hypnosis stuff, which can be very annoying, and just make Milotic a win condition in itself as well. Runaringus is still going to be able to get the Trick Room going. It's going to be able to Iron Defense, Body Press and stuff. So it's definitely worthwhile as a secondary Trick Room setter for sure. Rotom Mow does pair nicely with the Pokemon that's already there. You got to find your Grass type from somewhere. Rotom Mow is going to be able to do that pretty nicely because all the Rotoms are worthwhile. Even the Frost and Fan are worthwhile. So Rotom Mow absolutely rounds that out. Oh, there we go. There's the first one. There we go. Magmar should absolutely be picked. Yes, absolutely. Magmar, Follow Me is available. Take it. Take the Pokemon that don't usually have Follow Me. So Magmar, I like it a lot. That is, and 60. That is an absolute steal for 60. Those Follow Me Pokemon should have been worth way more. So yeah, Magmar, brilliant. Rounds out the Firewatch Grass with the Milotic, Rotom, and now the Magmar. You've got Fire types that would want to be dealing with the Calyrex, and now they got to go into a resisted hits of the Magmar. Very, very solid pick. You got another Fake Out Pokemon with the Berserker, another potential Trick Room Sweeper. Berserker hits very, very hard, so it is going to be able to do some serious damage in Trick Room. And then Bouffalant, yeah, I don't really rate it, sorry. Yeah, it's going to be immune to spores and sleep powders and stuff, but it doesn't actually really do too much. So, but I guess that was only 40 left over, so, you know, why not? So, yeah, they've built around the Calyrex, I think, pretty decently. They've got some speed, which some people may have fallen into the trap of dedicated Trick Room. So they've got some speed, which is very good to see. They've got the redirection and lots of Fake Out to be able to get it into position. They've got potential weakness policy activations on the Calyrex as well. So yeah, I like this team a lot. The only thing that is letting it down is the Bouffalant. Like, I don't know why that's there. But then again, I will never know why a Bouffalant is anywhere. So I would have given this a 9 if it weren't for the Bouffalant, but I'm going to give it an 8 as well. So I don't know if trades are available, but my recommendation would be to get rid of that Bouffalant, because it's I don't know why it's there. But then again, I never know why it's there. First team that has not picked their restricted as the first. That's really round 7 for their restricted pick. That is brave. But then again, I guess most people would have picked their restrictions at that point, so you can put it off. And that is a very viable tactic. Farm the lower tiers for the best Pokemon in those tiers, and then just come back to what's left, because the top tiers are always worthwhile. So it doesn't matter what's left. You can just fill out the Pokemon that are still good anyway. So Cinderace, being able to go for the Dynamax is going to be very good in draft format. It's pretty flexible in the moves that it can go for, and it's a pretty fast Airstream that's going to be Stab as well. So Cinderace makes perfect sense as a first pick. Primarina is going to be very good as well. It's one of the better Dynamax candidates for Trick Room sweeping, so Primarina is going to be very good. Do they have another grass starter? No, they don't. It's Ferrothorn as the... that would have been something nice to see if they got all 3 starters, and then you got access to all the pledges. But then again, pledges never work out, so don't fall into that trap. Raichu helps with the Primarina very well. It's got the Fake Out sorted. It's got some really nice speed control in Nuzzle that is only available to a few Pokemon. So that's going to be really, really nice as well. The Ferrothorn has been paired with Primarina in previous VGC formats. I think was it Series 4 or 5 that Incineroar, Primarina, and Ferrothorn were like on most teams, so that is a very solid pairing. That you've always got to be ready for body press iron defense stuff, else you just immediately lose to Ferrothorn, so you have to be ready for it. Oranguru is one of the better Trick Room Pokemon, in my opinion, in draft, because being able to just choose what you instruct is going to be very, very nice. It is unfake outable. If you just give it a mental herb, it is untautable, and then you get effectively guaranteed Trick Room, and it's got the bulk to be able to survive and do that. And you've got at least 3 fake out Pokemon to be able to help with that as well, because you've got that Scrafty coming up to be able to help set up, pairs up very nicely with the Oranguru as well, because it's able to take on the dark types that would want to be doing the damage to the Oranguru to be able to knock it out before it sets the Trick Room, and then it gets Intimidate onto the team as well, so that is really nice. And then Giratina Origin is definitely worth as a Pokemon if it's only worth 140, for sure. Like 220 for Calyrex Ice is like steep, but it is worth it. Giratina is effectively a budget restricted, but it is a solid Pokemon, for sure. So it seems like they've been going for the better, because they obviously went for it earlier on. They farmed the lower tiers for the best of the lower tiers, and then just rounded out with the Giratina. So that makes perfect sense. Giratina is very, very reasonable for this draft, especially given the fact that there's 80 less points than the best, what would be considered the best restricted. So that is pretty decent. The only awkward thing about Giratina Origin is that it has to run the Grisseosorb. That doesn't give you the flexibility that other restricted Pokemon could have if they could hold other items, because it has to have the... I assume that's only Origin form, and they can't have the altered form. So it is locked into the Grisseosorb. It's a decent item, for sure, but the fact that you're locked into it is a little bit awkward in draft. You probably want a bit more flexibility than that. Purloin is worth as a budget Pokemon, for sure. Getting Fake Out, and then just any Prankster Pokemon. Like, in draft, it does not matter what your Prankster Pokemon is. What speed it has, what stats it has. Just the fact that it can do Prankster status moves is enough. And it's got Fake Out on top of that. So it's going to be able to support the team very well. Just any Prankster Pokemon can do it. Get your budget Prankster Pokemon for sure. Purloin's going to work out really well. And then you've got some really fast Tailwind in the Aerodactyl. So that is going to round out the team pretty nicely, especially with the Rhyperior as a better Trick Room Pokemon, because there isn't... well, I guess there was a Primarina as the Trick Room Sweeper, but now you've got a physical and a special Trick Room Sweeper, so that's going to be really nice as well. You've got the extra Lightning Rod available. You probably don't need it on the Rhyperior. You've got that sorted with the Raichu. No one's bringing electric types against you, it seems, so you're going to be able to protect the Primarina really well. You're going to be able to protect the Max Airstreamed Cinderace very well as well, so... I like what they were going for with the... I was going to say, yeah, it's still technically budget restricted and getting the better Pokemon off the lower tiers. So I would still probably put it slightly lower than the others, though. I'm gonna give this one a 7 as well. So things I would probably like to see come out more from this team would have been maybe some redirection somewhere, because there's definitely Pokemon that want to be sweeping in Trick Room, so if you get the redirection as well as just the Fake Outs, then you'll be able to pretty much guarantee Trick Room. If you have Fake Out and redirection available next to Oranguru, you will be able to get Trick Room if you want to. So That is one of the main things that I think is missing from this team. The Purloin, I would have probably said you probably don't need if you have Scrafty as well. Or maybe you don't need Scrafty if you have Purloin. That could have probably been a harder hitting Pokemon that would make use of the Airstreams that can come out from the Cinderace a little bit better as well. Because a lot of the Pokemon are reasonably slow and won't be able to make use of Airstream from Cinderace that much. And that's one of the best things that Cinderace can be doing. So maybe a slightly faster Pokemon that can make use of the Airstreams a little bit better from the Cinderace would have been something that I'd like to see. So Zamazenta Crowned is interesting that it was on par with Calyrex Ice as the amount of points that you are spending to be able to get it. So it's obviously a Pokemon that can't Dynamax anyway, so it is pretty reasonable to be put that high, but I don't know if it's on par with Calyrex. I would have probably put it slightly cheaper. But there we go. It is one of, if not the best support Pokemon in the game, because of its amazing defenses on top of the Dauntless Shield boots that it's going to get. And can do some very good damage with the Behemoth Bash. Like it's no Behemoth Blade, but Behemoth Bash is surely going to hurt the Dynamax Pokemon as well. And you've got Togetic as a second pick, so that is a lot of support. So you've got to get some hard hitters going in as you go, because Zamazenta is not really going to be the offensive powerhouse. It can go for some howls, I guess, to be able to boost up its offenses, but it's going to want support, and so does Togetic. It's not like a Togekiss that can be offensive as well. Like Togetic and Zamazenta is going to be a very solid support core, so you've got to get some hard hitters. Salamence is going to hit very hard, for sure. That's going to be a good Pokemon to be coached as well by the Zamazenta. Got the Intimidate going, so you're really not going to be able to do too much damage as well. You can add the option for Moxie to increase your attacks as well. Get the Airstreams going, which would be really nice. So Salamence hits hard, Arcanine getting some more Intimidate going, so it seems like they are reducing the damage outputs quite a lot with the Pokemon they are bringing, with Salamence and Arcanine. Paired with the support of the Zamazenta and the Togetic, probably need to get some more harder hitters. Liepard is going to support as well again, so I think at the moment, I think that they're probably a bit too supportive. Nihilego is going to hit hard for sure, and pairs nicely with the double Intimidate because its defenses are so terrible, and gives you Trick Room as well, so that could be nice. Oh yes, because Salamence gets Tailwind as well now, because the transfer moves are available. So Salamence getting Tailwind, actually no, Salamence is going to be even stronger going into this format because it has Tailwind again, so that is pretty decent. You've got Tailwind and Trick Room with Salamence and the Nihilego. Golysopods, I never really like Golysopods. Emergency Exit is nice in theory, if you pair it with some things, but it always seems to backfire when I see Golisopod used, so I'm not the biggest fan of it. Cresselia is going to be supporting again. There really needs to be a bit more offense on this team, I think. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of support. The Momol isn't really a hard hitter. There's another Intimidate mod. 3 Intimidators might be getting a little bit excessive here. And Sandaconda probably wants to set up coils and eventually win. So I don't think there's enough offense on this team, in my opinion. So there's a lot of support. You're going to be able to choose to do what you want, but probably not the best amount of offense. I would really like to see more offense come out from this team. So I'm leaning towards a 5 for this one. Like Salamence will be able to hit hard. Nihilego will be able to hit hard, but nothing else really does. So they're going to probably struggle to get the damage output, I think. So I'm going to give that one a 5, I'm afraid. So Xerneas. Yeah, non-restricted format. Xerneas is going to be so good. Paired with Landorus as well. That is a solid opening. Probably one of the better openings that you could have got. Xerneas and Landorus, you've got to get the good ground type to be able to pair with Xerneas, because Fairy Ground is a great combination. Landorus is going to be able to do that absolutely well. It gets the Intimidate down. That is super solid as the first 2 picks, yeah. Talonflame is going to be able to get the Tailwind going as well, so that you can get your Xerneas faster, even without the Geomancies. That's really nice. And, oh, that's good. That's good. Electabuzz, they know what they're doing there. They've got a redirection Pokemon that resists Steel. That's brilliant. Like, that is such a good pick. Xerneas Electabuzz is a great pickup. Like, Landorus Electabuzz Xerneas. Solid. Absolutely loving it already. Conkeldurr is going to be very good at sweeping and Trick Room, and you've got the Bronzong to be able to enable that. Bronzong Xerneas is a great pairing as well, because Bronzong takes on the Pokemon that want to deal with Xerneas very well. It's one of the better Iron Defense Body Press Pokemon in the game, and it gets Trick Room as well. The typing is amazing to pair with the Xerneas, so yeah, that is super solid. Quillfish gives Intimidate, and that's about it. doesn't really do too much else. You probably got the Intimidator sorted with the Landorus, so Drampa is going to be able to sweep in Trick Room. You've got the physical and the special Trick Room sweepers ready to go. You're going to be able to get the Cloud9 goings, potentially, to be able to stop any of the weather shenanigans that could come out. So if you've got like Chlorophyll or Swift Swim Pokemon that would put them faster than the Xerneas, you can cancel that with the Drampa. I like that a lot. Sableye gives you Fake Outs. I don't think you have Fake Out until now. Yep, so Sableye gives you Fake Out. Gives you the Quash on the Will-O-Wisp and all the prankster shenanigans that it likes to do. And there's a Lunatone as well. So yeah, there's a couple of Pokemon that are a little bit duff Pokemon out of place, maybe. The Quillfish and the Lunatone could probably be other things, and it wouldn't really change too much. But the rest of the team, I like a lot. Like, I'm giving this a 9. If the Quillfish and the Lunatone were probably slightly better Pokemon, I would have given this a 10. Like, the Lunatone and the Quillfish are letting it down a little bit, but yeah. Xerneas, Landorus, Electabuzz with Bronzong, yeah, that's a 9 for sure. That is super solid in my opinion. So here we go. Another team that have put off their restricted, and somehow Kieran White made it to round 3. I don't know how, because in non-restricted formats, in draft as well, like Kieran White is busted in drafts. The fact that it's not as flexible, what's the one I'm looking for? Reliable, I think, in regular VGC is because you have to be ready for things like Zacian. You have to be ready for all those Pokemon. But in draft, you know you are facing that one restricted in the week. There's not even a Zacian now, so that frees up Kieran White a lot. And you can just tailor whether you actually bring the Kieran White to the match or not based on what the Pokemon you got. So you know what you're facing. You know if you're facing some steel types that are going to be awkward or not. So, yeah, Kieran White in draft is going to be very, very good. And the fact that they've made it to round 3, I'm very surprised with. And you've got Clefable to help support it as well. That is going to be very solid. Clefable is a great redirection Pokemon. I would have probably given more points available to it. I don't know if you can have 140, maybe 120 was the tier, was it tier B? Probably. But yeah, Clefable is solid, and Celesteela is solid as a Dynamax Pokemon as well, for sure. You've got to always be careful of the Leech Seed set as well. Everyone always thinks about the offensive set. Everyone forgets about the Leech Seed set at this point. So it's a Pokemon you have to be ready for, else you do just immediately lose. And it's going to pair really nicely with the Kieran White as well, because it can take on the Steel types really, really well that would otherwise trouble the Kieran. Meowstic is going to give some Fake Out. It's going to give the Prankster shenanigans. I am just assuming that is the male Meowstic. I don't know if they're both genders are available, if it's just Meowstic. Usually it specifies in draft, but I'm going to just assume it's Meowstic male, because it's 100 points, and Meowstic female would probably be worth 40, so that is going to be very nice. Any Prankster Pokemon is very good, any Fake Out Pokemon is very good. You've got Trick Room sorted with the Meowstic as well, so that's really nice. Hawlucha, you don't have any terrain, so I really think the Hawlucha should only be used if you've got terrain, because then you can make use of the Unburden a lot better. Otherwise, it's not actually that strong. It's great in singles, but it's kind of not so great in doubles, so I would probably like to see Hawlucha just with the terrain, because you've got to make use of the Unburden. Otherwise, it's probably going to be a little bit awkward, so I would lean more towards Hawlucha as a pure support Pokemon. But then you've got the Meowstic and the Clefable, and you're sorted for support in that regard. So Hawlucha, in my opinion, is a little bit out of place. Inteleon is going to be able to hit pretty hard. Inteleon is pretty decent in draft as well, because it is so fast. Because it can make use of the 120. So just having super fast Pokemon means that you have to prepare for that speed tier. If you've got, I think I've already said this, but if you've got like not so fast Pokemon, then all the opponents can either just invest completely in bulk, or if they choice scarf a Pokemon, they can barely speed invest and then allow that choice scarf Pokemon to have bulk. Pokemon like Inteleon, just being that fast means that they have to sacrifice bulk to be able to get speed to be able to outspeed that Inteleon. And it can do all the nice things as well. Are there any Pokemon that make use of Soak? Because that's not a Kieran Black, that is a Kieran White, so it can't really make use of the Soak. There are no grass types, that is a regular Rotom. And are there any electric types? Okay, there are... Oh no, it's Rotom, so... But Rotom's not going to really be able to make use of the Soak. Like, that's one of the main things I would say Inteleon is used for, to be able to soak things. It can obviously go for the G-Max... What's it? Oh, it's been a while. Is it Hydro Snipe? That it can deal some very good damage because it's base 160 power. It can go for the Razor Claw. Should be Razor Claw. Even though, no, actually on Inteleon, it should be Scope Lens. Only on Inteleon, it should be Scope Lens because it's a sniper. I go for the Scope Lens Snipe Shot. But with Inteleon as a pick, you probably got to get some good grass types and electric types somewhere, because you want to be able to soak things. and Rotom is not a good electric type. So a little bit of a missed opportunity, I think, with the Inteleon there. Entei is very solid in drafts. Immune's Fake Outs is going to be very nice. Going to be able to support very well and go on the offense very well. Getting the burns with the Sacred Fires is going to help out a lot with Pokemon like the Kyurem. So if you go for the Assault Vest on the Kyurem, then you can just get the Sacred Fire burns, and then you're sorted in that regard. If you Assault Vest Celesteela, then you can just get the Sacred Fire burns, so that is very solid. Persian Alola is a very good support Pokemon as well. I would have probably only chosen one of Meowstic or Persian, because they're both fast Fake Out Pokemon, and then they just go for pure support. You probably only need one. If they were very different speed tiers, then you could probably justify a bit more, but Meowstic and Persian are pretty close in speeds, so I'd probably only picked one for that. Then it seems like they don't have much points at all left over, so Doublade is worth. It is worth. They do have Trick Room on the team. They do have the Meowstic that can go for the Trick Room, so Doublade can make use of that. You can go for stuff like Wide Guards as well to support the team, and Ghost and Steel is a worthwhile typing, but Doublade does tend to not actually do too much when you bring it, even though in theory it's going to be great. It doesn't actually tend to do too much, unfortunately, and Rotom is generally not worth, unfortunately. Like, it's nice to have an electric type, but you want a better electric type to pair with the Inteleon. If you've got Inteleon, you want good electric types and grass types to make use of the Soak, and they don't have a good electric type, unfortunately. So I'm going to give this one a 6, I think. I'm going to give this one a 6. I would have definitely liked to see some better electric and grass types. I think Hawlucha is slightly out of place. I'd have probably only chosen one of Meowstic or Persian. Probably Persian I would lean towards. And then you can get one of the super budget prankster Pokemon to be able to, like, go for Morgrim or, depending on Morgrim or Impidimp, depending on if Morgrim is worth 60. I would have probably had that maybe over both of them, potentially, because yeah, they can do similar things, and it would have opened up potentially that grass type that is missing there to be able to make use of the Soak from the Inteleon. So I'm going to give this one a 6, I think. So, Utah Mews have picked Lugia as their first pick. Lugia is going to be very decent in draft, especially non-restricted, non-Dynamax restricted draft as well. So Lugia makes a lot of sense. Gastrodon is going to be very annoying as a Pokemon, and paired with the Lugia, it's got some pretty good synergy there. The Aegislash has got some very decent bulk and good synergy as well. It looks like they're going for a bit of a bulkier team here, but then they've got the super fast Tailwind with the Crobat as well. That's going to be pretty nice. So Goodra's okay. Like, it's a Pokemon that can just immediately wall everything and just win on its own because you don't have any physical attackers. But Goodra it's all right. Like, you got to get a Dragon from somewhere. They got a yes, they do have a Fairy, obviously next pick with the Azumarill. So they do have the Fantasy course sorted with the Aegislash and Goodra and Azumarill. So that is pretty decent. Do they have Trick Room somewhere? They do not have Trick Room somewhere because Lugia doesn't get Trick Room. So they got some Trick Room sweepers in the Azumarill and Escavalier, and there's no Trick Room. You probably want Trick Room to make the best use of those. So a little bit awkward there. Darmanitan is absolutely worth in draft. Like, this is Unnovan Darmanitan is worth, because in draft you can choose your speed, you can choose your offense, and then you can bulk out your Darmanitan. And because you can do that, it actually has pretty decent bulk. Usually when you just use it in VGC, it is just max attack, max speed. You got no room for bulk, and it is just super frail. But because you can take offense and you can take speed from the Darmanitan and put it in bulk, it's actually surprisingly bulky. So it is reasonably flexible in draft and hits very hard. So that is a decent pick. Buzzwole is very good in draft if there is no Airstream. But the fact that it is 4 times weak to Airstream, and Airstream is going to be one of the most common max moves that you see, that makes it a little bit more awkward. If it doesn't get hit by an Airstream, Buzzwole is very good. But because Airstream is so prevalent, a little bit awkward. Escavalier is great, but where is the Trick Room? Like, you need the Trick Room if you're going to be picking Escavalier. Maybe it's Trick Room counter, but it's so good at sweeping in Trick Room that you should probably have Trick Room somewhere to be able to set that, in my opinion. And then Leafeon is going to round out Firewater Grass. It can hit pretty hard. It's a chlorophyll Pokemon that's not got any weather to support it. It's not going to be doing too much else other than that, in my opinion. I am going to give this one a 6 as well, I think. I think missing Trick Room when you've got something like Azumarill and Escavalier to be able to sweep in Trick Room is definitely a missed opportunity there, I think. Are there any fast Fling Pokemon? I don't think Crobat gets Fling. So you've missed out on the opportunity to go for the Fling Lancet Berry into the Lugia as well, which is one of the main sets the Lugia uses in regular VGC. Obviously, it's draft and you can use a lot of other things, but that is one of the better sets the Lugia has, the Guarantee Crits, and you probably want to be able to find some Guarantee Crits from somewhere, and I'm not seeing it really on the team. So that is something else I think is a bit missing if you do have Lugia as your restricted Pokemon. That is definitely something I would like to see. Fling from somewhere so that you could get the Lancet Berry going. Calyrex Shadow as the first pick, paired with Togekiss. So Togekiss has Tailwind. So it's going to have all the great stuff it could do in the Dynamax format, and it has Tailwind. So can you imagine VGC on Sword and Shield if Togekiss did still have Tailwind? That would have been interesting to see. But yeah, Calyrex Togekiss is a great opening. Togekiss covers the Dark types very well for the Calyrex Shadow. It's going to be able to follow me in a helping hand that allows the Calyrex Shadow to just do what it wants. Yeah, that is a very, very solid opening. Colossal is a great Pokemon, just in general. You've always got to be ready for it, and you've got the Surf with the Weavile on the team to be able to get it going, so that makes a lot of sense. Weavile pairs really well with Calyrex Shadow as well, because in draft you get to choose your speed. Your Calyrex can just not be speed invested, and underspeed your Weavile, you can go for Fake Tears and stuff with the Weavile, so that is a very good pairing. I like the Weavile Colossal Calyrex Shadow Togekiss. Like, that is a good pick together. Serena is great. Like, just shutting off priority in general is very good. You shut off Sucker Punches for the Calyrex Shadow. That's very good. You shut off any Aqua Jets that could hit the Colossal. So that is pretty decent. I like the Serena pick. I also really, really like the Cottony pick. Like, Cottony gets Tailwind again. Transfer moves are available. Cottony is just Whimsicott again. Except its Dazzling Gleam is not really going to do too much damage. But then neither does Whimsicott's. And it can't go for Moonblast either. So I can see that Whimsicott is on the next team. And that's worth 180 points. Cottony is worth 40. And does pretty much everything that Whimsicott does. And you save yourself 140 points. Absolutely worth. Like, Cottony with Tailwind available is busted. Even if it didn't, in the previous draft formats, it has Cotton Spore. That's decent. Like, it's not quite Tailwind, but it is on par with it. And now it has Tailwind again. So, yeah, absolutely worth for 40. Like, it doesn't matter what the team is. If you pick Cottony with Tailwind, it's worth, for sure. Gyarados is going to pair really nice with the Colossal, because water and ground types, or water and ground type moves, want to hit the Colossal, and Gyarados resists both of them. Gets to Intimidate as well, so Gyarados pairing with Colossal is very nice. It is an alternative Surfmon, question mark, to be able to hit the Colossal, which is absolutely fine. But Weavile's probably going to do that the most. Copperajah is great in draft. I like Copperajah a lot. Like, it can sweep in Trick Room very well. There is technically Trick Room on the team with the Calyrex Shadow. That's probably not the Pokemon you want to be going for Trick Room. I guess there's Swoobat as well. Swoobat does get Trick Room, so that would be able to set the Trick Room for the Copperajah. I would see that Copperajah more as a Trick Room counter than a Trick Room sweeper. It had the potential to be. There is technically Trick Room on the team, so maybe having a more dedicated Trick Room Pokemon to be able to set it so that the Copperajah could sweep would have been something that could have been on the team, but it's still working out pretty reasonably anyway. Pikachu can still surf the Colossal, even though it's actually going to do a reasonable amount of damage, so that makes sense as a pick. As an alternative surfer, and G-Max Volt Crash could just steal games with the Paralysis as well, so for 40, I think that's probably a bit low for Pikachu. Pikachu should probably be worth a little bit more, because G-Max Volt Crash is probably worth more than 40. So yeah, that's I think that's a steal for just the bottom tier pick. And Swoobat is pretty reasonable as well. Like, if you get the Calm Minds going, then you're sorted. If you go for something like Simple Beam into your Calyrex, can you do that over as one? Maybe not. But you can Simple Beam things to be able to set up, like Simple Beam the Gyarados, and be able to +2 Dragon Dance. That is pretty decent as well. And then it's got Tailwind and Trick Room, so because it's got the Tailwind available from the transfer moves again. So Tailwind and Trick Room on one Pokemon is pretty good. It's no Galarian Articuno, but it is pretty decent. So I would say if this were a team that had I don't want to say better Trick Room setter, because Calyrex Shadow is one of the best Pokemon in the game, but it's not really the Pokemon you want to be setting Trick Room. If there was a Pokemon that you wanted to be setting Trick Room, so that you could allow that Copperajah to have that mode. If you maybe had a Trick Room Pokemon that had Bulldoze, so you could Bulldoze your Colossal and have that alternative Colossal mode, then that would have put it as a 10. But I'm going to put it as a 9 instead. I think that's the main thing that's missing from this team. A Pokemon you want to be setting Trick Room, rather than Zubat or Calyrex, that could also bulldoze. That would round out the team perfectly, in my opinion, and it's just not quite missing that. Is not the sentence. It is missing that. That's something it doesn't quite have. So you got, again, where is the restricted? Oh, the round 7 again. So another round 7 restricted pick. So Whimsicott, I think, should be Cottony. I've already said why. I probably won't talk about it anymore. The fact that Cottony had Tailwind again means that it probably should be Cottony. But Whimsicott's fine. It's worth a lot. Could have saved 140. But there we go. Volcarona is very good in draft. It's got the redirection sorted. It's got setup and sweep sorted. So Volcarona is a very flexible Pokemon in draft. I like Volcarona a lot. Paired with the Whimsicots, it can still absolutely make use of the Tailwinds because it's base 100. So Tailwind can benefit it for sure. You don't really need to go for anything like Rage Powder and Tailwind, because Whimsicott just sets Tailwind anyway, so that doesn't really matter. Landorus Incarnate is going to be able to make use of the Tailwind as well. That hits very hard and can go for Dynamax if it needs to. It's not going to be able to hit as hard with the Airstreams, but the Sheer Force Earth Powers are going to hit very hard as well. Hydreigon pairs pretty well with the Whimsicott, so I like the Hydreigon as a pick. That's going to be really nice to make use of the Fake Tears. Well, I guess the first 3 picks are going to be all going to make use of Fake Tears that come out from the Whimsicott. So that seems like a pretty good, decent first pick. So where's the Steel? To round out the fantasy. That's something that's missing. Ooh, I'd like to see a Steel to round out that fantasy, because that was a good start to a fantasy core, and I can't see a Steel type on the team, so that's a little bit unfortunate there. Galgeist is a Trick Room setter. I guess technically there was Trick Room on the Whimsicott, but Galgeist wants to set Trick Room, so that's going to be pretty nice. You've got potential Trick or Treats to pair with the Hydreigon, which could be really nice as well, and they're both in the same... No, Galgeist just naturally outspeeds Hydreigon, so you don't even need a Choice Scarf to be able to do that Trick or Treats shenanigans, so I think that's quite nice. Wishy-Washy is worthwhile as Trick Room Sweep. For 40 points and 140 base attack and special attack, that's going to hit really hard in Trick Room, and you've got Necrozma Dawnwings as a potential Trick Room Pokemon as well, so yeah, I like the Wishy-Washy. Wishy-Washy is underrated. If it was worth 60 points, I probably wouldn't get it, but for 40, that's worth, for sure. Because it's going to be able to sweep in Trick Room. If you get Trick Room, Wishy-Washy could just win a game immediately in Trick Room. And Necrozma Dawnwings is going to be able to set that Trick Room pretty well. It pairs well with the Hydreigon as well, so I like that as a pairing. You're going to be able to have access to the Meteor Beam, Power Herb stuff. It doesn't have Y-Guard that Lunala has. It doesn't have the Shadow Shield. Prism Armor is pretty decent, but not quite on par with Shadow Shield in my opinion. But it is still going to be very decent. It is just fast enough to be able to make use of Tailwind from Whimsicott, in my opinion. Like 77 base speed is good enough. It's good enough for Tailwind, and it's slow enough to be able to make use of its own Trick Room, so that's pretty decent. And then you've got the Fake Out sorted on the team with the Toxicroak. That's going to make you immune to the water-type attacks with the Toxicroak as well. That's going to help out the Volcarona and the Landorus really well. So I like the Toxicroak there, being able to get the Fake Outs and the Dry Skin to support the rest of the team. Miltank is a Miltank. And Heliolisk is pretty decent, so you can go for something like Sunny Day with the Whimsicots to be able to get used to the Solar Power. There's another Dry Skin Pokemon to be able to help out the Volcarona and the Landorus. It's a normal type to be able to pair well with the Necrozma Dawnwings. So's Miltank, I guess, but so's Heliolisk. So, yeah, Miltank, not really sure why it's ever there, but there we go. Yeah, I like this team. Like, when I first saw Whimsicott, I think Whimsicott is a trap in draft, in my opinion, but the rest of the team has rounded out pretty decently, I think. I'm going to give this one an 8. The Miltank is letting the team down. If that Miltank was something else, that could push it into the 9 or 10, but I'm going to give this one an 8. So, where is the... There it is, Giratina right at the bottom, round 9. So, yeah, it is just Origin for the previous one. Thundurus Incarnate. So, Thundurus is one of the most flexible Pokemon in draft. It's got access to Defiant and Prankster. You've got to decide which one it's going to be. And if you get it wrong, you might just immediately lose if you fake out the Defiant Pokemon going for the Dynamax. So, yeah, Thundurus is great in draft. Paired with the Single Strike Urshifu is going to be very decent. Like, Nihilego rounds it off that core in regular VGC. So, Single Strike Urshifu and Thundurus is a great pick. Klefki is worth. Like I said, Prankster Pokemon are just worth in draft. Like, straight up. So, Klefki is going to be pretty decent. To be able to get some screens going, to be able to get some other shenanigans going. Crafty Shield is pretty much exclusive to it, other than, was it Kofagrigus that gets it as well? So that's going to be able to keep things safe from all the shenanigans that could hit it. It's a little bit awkward with Metal Sound over Fake Tears, And there are there are Pokemon that want to make use of Fake Tears, well, not Fake Tears, want to make use of Metal Sound. The only awkward thing is it's 85 accuracy rather than just 100%, but it can still absolutely support the team. Gengar is worth in draft. Like, it's never going to be a great Pokemon, but it's always going to be a decent pick. You almost always want to sash it, but it can do some nice things. It hits hard, it can support well, so Gengar is just always going to be pretty decent. Dracovish is great in draft, so you've always got to be having some Pokemon that can take the hit, and if it can't, you just get bopped immediately by the Fishious Rend. You've got the Airstream that can come out from the Thundurus to be able to make use of the Dracovish. You've got Defiant on the Thundurus to be able to dissuade the Intimidates that would neuter the Dracovish a little bit, so that's going to be able to still hit very hard. There is no Tailwind on the team. There's technically Tailwind on the Giratina, but that probably doesn't want to be setting Tailwind. You got the Trick Room from the Porygon Z, and the Executor. Yes, let's go Executor Alola. But PZ is a very good Pokemon in draft. Something you have to be ready for, and you may over-prepare for it as well. Because in some matchups, it's fine, and then people just may over-prepare for it. And in some matchups, it just wins, because you just overwhelm with the power of the Max Strike. So the PZ is a very nice pick there. It seems somewhat of a hyper-offense team already. Executor Alola is not really a hyper-offense Pokemon, but it enables Trick Room pretty decently. And Rhydon is a fine Trick Room sweeper. It's getting some bulk on the team. And speaking of getting some bulk on the team, Giratina, one of the bulkiest Pokemon we have in the game. So I actually quite like that Giratina pick, paired with the offense of the rest of the team. Because Giratina is supposed to just bulk it out and eventually win. It can go for just Carmine leftover stuff with Will-O-Wisp. You can just chip away at the opponents and just never die. And you can just KO the rest of the Pokemon with the hard hitters. And there are some hard hitters on this team. And that is a great last pick. I am glad someone went Wartortle. That is one of the biggest steals, for sure, in the lowest tier. You've got Fake Out and Follow Me. That is such a busted combination in draft. And it was only available on Smeargle before. We don't have Smeargle, obviously, at the moment. But Fake Out, Follow Me is such good support. And it doesn't matter what the Pokemon is. If it is just a Pokemon with one base in every single stat, you just sash it and have Fake Out and Follow Me. And that's a great Pokemon. So Wartortle, just again, like it's just on any team. If any team picked Wartortle, then that's a good pick. Because for lowest tier, it's worth on any team. So maybe if it was a Giratina Origin, I think that would have probably fit the team a bit more. A lot of it, I think that, well, obviously it did, because round 9, Origin Giratina had gone. Might have been some maybe better restricteds to pair with it. Like, the bulk is nice on the Giratina. It might lack the offense, but like I said, the rest of the team provides the offense. So that might not be too much of an issue. I don't think there's too much else that I would particularly immediately change about the team. So I think this is pretty decent. I don't know if I'd give heart rating. I'm going to stick to integers. So well, I'm somewhere between 8 and 9 for this. I'm probably going to lean towards 8, I think. If Giratina was probably... Like, Giratina is fine as restricted. There are better restricted. But maybe the fact that they only had 140 available means they had to go for it. If it was probably a better restricted... Like, Giratina is fine. And it makes sense on the team. But a slightly better restricted, I think, would have started to push it up. So, lean towards an 8 for that one. But pushing 9. And if I was allowed half ratings... If I allowed myself half ratings, I would give it 8.5. But I'm not. So... there we go. So, what we got? So, we got beat up immediately with the Dragapult Rebellion, so you've always got to be ready for that. Dragapult is great in draft. Like, the speed it has means you have to factor in that speed, which, obviously, some teams might not even be able to do. So, that is always going to be nice in draft. There with the Rebellion to be able to beat it up, that is very decent as a opening pick. Where's the... Mewtwo as the restricted. Okay, Mewtwo is going to be great in draft. I think Mewtwo is... in draft is where Mewtwo belongs, because... It's pretty much overshadowed by Calyrex Shadow in regular VGC, where you're only committing to one set, but Mewtwo has much more flexibility, in my opinion, than Calyrex Shadow does, because it has lots of coverage. It has a lot of coverage, so you can just choose the coverage you want. Calyrex Shadow is pretty much just going to be Astro Barrage and one move that's just teched in kind of thing. Mewtwo can go for all of the coverage that it wants. It can go for super slow with the Trick Room as well. Like, there was an Iron Ball Mewtwo that's Top Cut Worlds in 2010, I think it was. so it can just do things like that as well. Mewtwo is slightly more flexible than Calyrex. Calyrex does its job better, but Mewtwo is more flexible, so it's absolutely worth as a pick. And the fact that they've got Indeedee as well to be able to get Mewtwo getting those expanding force in the Psychic Terrain are very, very solid indeed. And you've got the redirection as well paired with it, so yeah, that's a solid opening in my opinion. Braviary is going to be very nice. Defiant is always nice to put off the Intimidates, but then at the moment, doesn't really matter. Looking at the team doesn't care if it gets Intimidated, so actually the Defiant isn't going to come into play as much in terms of Intimidate as well. It could be for Max Moose as well. Max Moose dropped the stats, so it could be using the Defiance for that. Also gets Tailwinds as well, so Tailwind's going to be very nice on the team. They've technically got Trick Room in the Mewtwo, and they do not have Trick Room elsewhere, so maybe they could have got a slightly more wanting to click Trick Room Pokemon if they do have any Trick Room Sweepers, which doesn't really seem like they do, and in my opinion, is starting to fall off a little bit. Like the Crocodile is great, but then Toxapex is kind of not worth in VGC. Can win some games just by being a Toxapex, and then they can't deal with it. But in draft, you just can be ready for Toxapex. Like in regular VGC, some teams just do not think about Toxapex in the slightest and will just lose because they're not ready for it, because it's just not a worthwhile Pokemon in regular VGC. But draft, you just can be ready. Centiskorch is 40. Centiskorch was in the lowest tier. Wow, okay. Yeah, that's a steal then. Yeah, Centiskorch should be higher up. Like, its G-Max move is doing passive damage. Should absolutely. And it's trapping them as well. It shouldn't be the lowest tier. That's a steal for sure. Yeah, Centiskorch on any team. If it's the lowest tier, Centiskorch on any team is great. Golbat gets Tailwind. Gets Unfake-Outable Tailwind. So that is something. And they should use the Curse set. No one thinks about Curse Golbat. If you use Brave Bird, Poison Fang, Curse and Roost, you're sorted. Shedinja is a trap, in my opinion, in draft. It forces team building. Like, it forces some Pokemon to just randomly have a super effective move against Shedinja. But transfer moves are available, and that means Toxic is available on pretty much everything. So that makes Shedinja even worse in this draft format, in my opinion. So there's a few picks there that, I guess a couple of picks. Like, Golbat is fine. Golbat with Unfake-Outable Tailwind and the Hidden Curse set as well. Is decent, but Toxapex, Shedinja, I'm not particularly fans of there, so I like the top half, and Centiskorch is always going to be a steal if it is the lowest tier for some reason, but I'm leaning towards the 6 for this, I'm afraid. A little bit lower. I don't like the Toxapex, I don't like the Shedinja. There is technically Fake Out on the team in the Indeedee, but it's a Pokemon that doesn't really ever want to click Fake Out because, you know, it wants Psychic Terrain. And if you run not Psychic Terrain, then it's just absolutely telegraphed that it's going for Fake Out. So then you can just play around it. So I'd like to see probably some other Fake Outs on the team somewhere because I don't really count Indeedee. There's not any redirection as well. No, sorry, there is redirection on the Indeedee. What was I thinking? The Trick Room was the thing I was thinking of. That's the other Indeedee. I got my Indeedees mixed up there. Because there is redirection, and there's not a dedicated Trick Room mode as such. Because the Mewtwo can technically set it, but there's not even a Trick Room Sweeper that could have been nice as well. Because you've got the super fast, but where's the super slow? Because then they got to prepare for both, and then that's much more difficult. They can prepare for the super fast, and the super slow on your team is not actually a Trick Room, like, be super slow kind of thing. So I think that's what's mainly missing from that team. Necrozma Dustmane. I have a fond place in my heart for Necrozma Dustmane because it was one of the 2 Pokemon that I got 9th place in Worlds with as the restricted pair. Xerneas was the other one. And with Tornadus Incarnate, that is going to be really nice. That's really nice because you've got the Trick Room sorted, you've got the Tailwind sorted, you've got the Brutal Swing Weakness policy sorted. So that's a very strong opening. With the Politoed as well, to be able to get the Hurricanes 100% accurate. Really nice to be able to keep the Necrozma safe from the Fire-type moves coming out. Really, really good opening. How did Regieleki survive until round 4? Like, that should go in the first round. Like, second round, I guess, if you got restricted to go. But for round 4, wow. And paired with the Politoed as well, paired with the Tailwind on the Tornadus, that is solid. That is very good, because you've got the 100% accurate Thunders, you've got the Electro Webs to be able to help out with the speed control as well. That is really nice. Yeah, that I don't know why Regieleki was allowed to survive until round 4. You got the Swift Swim Pokemon. If you got a Politoed, you should probably just find a Swift Swim Pokemon, even from the lower tiers, but you got it available from the higher tiers. With the Kingdra, you got Redirection with the Tangler. That's really nice. Salazzle is another Pokemon that is a fond place in my heart, because that was also on my 9th place Worlds team, and just used it for like over a year in different formats. But yes, Salazzle Necrozma. I might be a bit biased towards this team, but 2 Swift Pokemon is probably pushing it, in my opinion. Like, it's nice in drafts because it's like, oh, I've got Rain. Not many other people have Rain, so these Swift Pokemon are available. You probably only need 1, though, because then you're starting to commit a little bit too hard to Rain. And Weather is counterable. Like, if you know you're going against a Weather, it's reasonably easy to tech for it. So I'd probably like to see only 1 Swift Pokemon and then just get something else. Sudowoodo is, like, it can hit hard with Head Smash, I guess. And it can be a Trick Room Sweeper to an extent. It can Sucker Punch the Necrozma. That's something. Frostmoth is fine. Frostmoth is an alternative Tailwind. It's an alternative setup Pokemon where it can go for Quiver Dances and stuff. Frostmoth is fine for the lowest tier. But I'm not too fond of the Sudowoodo. I probably would have replaced that. I think the opening is very solid. I'm going to give this one an 8. The things I would like to see better, I don't say better, in my opinion, would have improved it. Would have been, you only need 1 Swift Swim Pokemon and just choose 1, get something else. And Sudowoodo is, you know, probably not worth. Frostmoth is fine. I like Frostmoth. I like it as a Pokemon. But Sudowoodo could have probably been something better. And you could have had something else to help out with the team rather than commit a little bit further to Rain. Rain is great. And you've got Tornadus and Regieleki that have made use of it as well. There's some really good synergy with the Rain, but you probably only need 1 Swift Swim Pokemon at that point, I think. Almost there, almost there. Venusaur and Torkoal is a trap. In draft, it is a trap. It is very good in regular VGC because it is very consistent across the board. But you have to commit to 1 set, and that's fine, because that 1 set is very consistent across everything. But in draft, Sun is super easy to prepare for. Like, if you know you are facing Sun, it is very easy to counter. So that's why I think it's a trap in draft. Venusaur, Torkoal, Charizard, again, committing very hard to the Sun. They are very good Pokemon, but they are very good in VGC. In my opinion, not so much in draft. I've seen a lot of Sun teams pretty much fail in draft because they are just countered. It's very easy to counter Sun. And it seems better than it is, in my opinion, in draft. I may be proved completely wrong, but in my opinion, Sun is a trap. Dialga is great. Dialga is great. It is a Pokemon that does like to be going for Steel Spike and Max Quake boosts, and it can't do that, but it is a solid Trick Room Pokemon to be able to enable the Torkoal as well. So that is a perfectly reasonable pick. Alchemy is good in draft. Decorating anything is going to be very good. You can choose whether to be Focus Sash or Choice Scarf, which you can't do in VGC. So Alchemy is a lot more flexible in the draft. It's going to be able to keep yourself safe from the Sleep Moves as well that could come out. But you've got one of the Pokemon that probably wants to be clicking Sleep Powder already, so that's not too concerning. But the Decorate is going to be very nice. They got the Morgrem. Okay, someone got the Morgrem. Morgrem is worth, it's worth 60. Okay, so Impidimp would have had to be the 40 pick. But Morgrem is worth, like I said, any Prankster Pokemon is worth. Budget Grimmsnarl is absolutely fine. Morgrem is going to be able to do pretty much everything Grimmsnarl can do, except damage. You kind of have to foul play with the Morgrem, but that's fine. It can do all the other support absolutely fine. Golurk is going to be the physical Trick Room Sweeper. That absolutely works as Trick Room Sweeper paired with the Torkoal. Slowbro is great. Slowbro is really flexible. It's surprisingly flexible as a Pokemon, so it's going to be solid as a replacement Trick Room Sweeper for the Dialga. Throw, yeah, it's fine. And Emolga is not really fine. A little bit tailing off at the ends. Like, it's 240 picks, which, you know, some of them are just going to be not doing too much anyway. But I'm going to probably rate this lower than a lot of other people would have done, because a lot of people will rate Sun very highly, but I may be wrong and I may be biased towards it, but in my opinion, Sun is a trap. It's good that you've got Venusaur, Torkoal, and Charizard, but it's draft. You can prepare for it. I'm giving this one a 4, I'm afraid. Like, that's probably going to surprise a lot of people given the first 3, and they're going to expect higher tiers, but I think Sun is a trap in draft, I'm afraid. And then there's some reasonable Pokemon, but it tails off completely as well. So, sorry, Belligerent Blazikens, but that's probably going to be the lowest rank unless... Oh, thank God, someone picked Blastoise. The best Pokemon in this format. Oh, almost. I was expecting not to get through this, and we almost didn't get Blastoise, but Blastoise is busted in VGC Draft format, and it's got Follow Me in this one. It is the best, bar none, better than any of the restricted, and it almost wasn't picked. It went to round 16. It went round the first, but I guess technically because you want to re-restricted, but yeah, it's the first of round 2. Okay, that's reasonable given that restricted are being picked, but it is the best Pokemon in this format. Like, it just is. Fake Out and Follow Me, like I've already explained with the War Turtle, is worth on its own. And then you get the passive damage of the G-Max Cannonade. You've got the possibility to go for Shell Smash. You've got the possibility for amazing support. Even more busted support with the Follow Me now that it has available. You don't need that Incineroar. You got Blastoise, you're sorted. But Incineroar Blastoise is a very, very reasonable start. For sure. You've got double Fake Out already, so you are sorted on the support. And this support actually does damage as well. Like, the Blastoise can set up and sweep. It just clicks Cannonade, and you've done over a Pokemon's worth of damage already. So that is a very good start. Rabombi, a little bit out of place, I think, as a round 3. Rabombi should probably be one of the later picks to round out the team. And maybe if it needs something like Speed Swap to be able to get it faster. So round 3, a little bit surprising to me. Tangrowth is nice. I like that Incineroar Blastoise Tangrowth core. That's a nice Fire Water Grass core for sure. You've got the redirection to be able to help the Blastoise set up with the Shell Smash. You've got all the support ready to go. And you're actually still doing damage as well. So I like that a lot. Dragonite is going to be a very good Pokemon in draft. Very flexible in what it can do. Whether it needs to go in a focus to be immune to Intimidate or get that multi-scale going is very nice. Being able to choose is really nice. The Sneasel probably should be a Weavile. I don't know if Weavile... Like, I can check. But where was it? Weavile went round 7. And are they... In this one, are they the same? Okay, at least in this one, they're the same. For some reason, in High Roller, the draft league I'm in, Sneasel is a higher tier than Weavile, and I don't understand this in the slightest. Like, sure, you got in a focus, but Weavile is better in every single way. But you should have, like, in my opinion, I would have picked Weavile instead of that Sneasel, because it was available at that point. So I'd have gone for Weavile for sure over Sneasel. You can Ice Shard your own Dragonites, which is something as well. But yeah, I would have probably gone Weavile. You can beat up your Lucario at least. Like, I can see what they're going for with the beat up into Lucario. And that's going to be fine. Oh, and transfer moves are available. So Lucario has Follow Me. So again, that is a great Pokemon in this format for sure. So they got the Blastoise, they got Lucario, they got Tangrowth as well. They got triple redirection. They are sorted for their support. Greedent is going to be able to make use of that as well. It's going to be able to get that Belly Drum and then get the intense healing with the Cheek Pouch Citrus Berry. So that's going to be really nice. And being able to set Trick Room with that Lunala is going to be really good as well. And in this format, Lunala has Tailwind as well. Some of the Pokemon are a bit too slow to make use of Tailwind from Lunala, but it's going to be solid as the Trick Room setter as well. And then Stunfisk is there. So... yeah, I like a lot of the picks. I'm glad that Blastoise got picked. Like, if it didn't get picked, I was going to be incredibly shocked, given it is just the best Pokemon in the format, bar none. But Rabombi could have probably been a bit later, and is, in my opinion, a Pokemon that rounds out the team. It just patches some stuff, but... There's some definitely solid stuff in there. You probably don't need triple redirection, but maybe they're not even going for just the fact that it was triple redirection. That they just choose Blastoise because it's the best. Tangrowth is just a good redirection Pokemon, just generally to be able to support the Blastoise. And then it seemed like they were going for a beat up justified thing. And Lucario just happens to have Follow Me as well because transfer moves are available. You can get your Trick Room set up with Lunala if you want to as well. The Lucario Lunala core is a very good one as well because you've got the potential to Final Gambit in Trick Room, you've got the potential to Follow Me in Trick Room. They synergize very well with each other, like the Dark type moves that would hit Lunala will hit the Lucario instead and increase it thanks to the Justified, so that's pretty decent. Stunfisk is letting it down for sure, and I think that the fact that it was available, they should have probably picked Weavile over Sneasel, because in my opinion, Weavile is just absolutely better than Sneasel. But there are some definitely solid things here. I'm going to give it an 11 because they picked Blastoise. No, that's unfair. So this one is probably a 7, in my opinion. So Blastoise is just absolutely busted. There are some good synergies in the team, but Robombi probably doesn't need to be picked that early, and it's still fine on the team. It can Polypath for Blastoise, so it can get for some extra water spouts and stuff. It can speed swap and stuff, but probably should have been picked later, and other things may have been better to prioritize than Robombi. And Stunfisk is there, and probably should not be. So that is going to round it out for my analysis of the PGL. If I could remember the scores that I gave, then I would round them off right now, but it has been going for quite a while. I was hoping for under an hour, and it is over an hour, so there we go. I hope you enjoyed this analysis of the PGL draft. Please disagree completely with me in the comments, or agree with me completely. Give me your opinions on what I am totally wrong with, totally right about. I will be interested to see. And thank you very, very much for the PGL for commissioning me for this. It was very interesting to go through an analysis of this kind of format. This is a very interesting format. I would like to see other draft leagues try out this format as well if this is successful. I think that non-Dynamax restricted is a good way of balancing it. Transfer moves available is interesting as well, and I'll be interested to see how that ends up affecting lots of Pokemon that otherwise wouldn't have been as good. I think a couple of things to parting shots, I should say. Where is Magmortar? Where is Electivire? Why weren't they picked? Like, they've got Follow Me. Where are they? We saw Electabuzz and Magma, which is great. We saw Wartortle, which is great. I'm glad someone picked up on the Wartortle. But where is Magmortar and Electivire? They are very good with the fact that they have Follow Me, and we didn't see them. So I think that was the main thing that I'm surprised didn't get picked up. And I'm also very surprised that Blastoise just didn't get picked up in round 1. But given the fact that everyone was picking restricted, and it's technically at the beginning of round 2, then that makes sense. So that is going to be it from me. And I don't really have an outro, so